Good night, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Of course, this is Rickford Burke in New York. Excuse me. I'm sure that people at the CID headquarters are grabbing their notepads and pens and writing to see how best some law can apply to my broadcast tonight. But I welcome them. Welcome aboard, everybody. Text me. Let me know you're watching. Where you're watching me from. Let me know if you're watching me from Guyana Police Headquarters, CID Headquarters, the residence of the Police Commissioner, the Attorney General's chambers, or the Attorney General's home. I heard that he's in Barbados. Welcome to the program. I know that this program has the attention and interest of lots of people in the government of Guyana. Text me, let me know where you're watching from. Of course, here in New York, it's about 10 o'clock, 10:03 p.m. on the East Coast, just about 7:03 p.m. on the West Coast. In London, good night. Good morning, rather. If you're watching from Europe, any other place in Europe, good morning. If you're watching from Africa, good morning. I know that my friend in Germany will join the show shortly. My friend Guyanese in the U.S. military, currently serving in Germany. Next one serving in Japan. Text me, let me know if you're onto the program. And again, wherever you're watching from, I hope you're having a good night or a good day or a pleasant evening. Text me again, let me know where you're watching from. I see people from Maryland, Barbados. Good night, Kenita Bradford, all the way from New Jersey. Esden Earl from St. Lucia. Alexis from Kitty, good night. Good night, Miss Aline in Barbados. Be careful on the seawall there. Annetta Gordon from Maryland, good night. Mary, good night. Beverly Johnson, good night. Watching all the way from the beautiful island of Barbados, Miss Patricia, I think Chisholm, that went very quickly there. Sean Norvell, Antigua and Barbuda. Philippa, North Carolina, good night. Good night from Barbados again. Good night, Roxanne from Guyana. Wow, lots of people from Barbados. Good night, Jennifer. Isaacs from Barbados. Again, everybody share the link. Get into all your Guyanese groups on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Messenger, on Twitter, on IG. Share the link with everybody you know. Let them know Conversation with Rickford Burke is on. Hazel watching from Barbados. Odessa watching all the way from Quarantine, Berbice. Laverne from Hope Town. Mitch Joseph Springer, Brooklyn in the house. Welcome. Let me see who else is watching. Jem, good night. Again, I see somebody from Linden. Good night. Somebody's inboxing me. Somebody's inboxing me from number 28. Collis, I think, all the way from Georgia. Good night, everybody. Good night, good night. Good night, Alexis from Barbados. Good night, Ariel from Georgia, the United States. Everybody, keep sharing the link. Everybody, keep sharing the link. Tonight, we're going to have a wonderful program. We're going to talk about 3 important topics. Melbourne, Australia. Wow, Miss Dolphin, good day to you. Text us, let us know. Send us some pictures with Melbourne, Australia. Miss Brickham from Antigua. Joan Pierre in the house. I see my friend from Haiti. Good night. I see my senator there. Good night. Sean Henry, good night. Miss Allen, all the way in Guyana. Abel, Kitty, good night, buddy. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Odessa, watching from Georgia. From Springfield, Maryland. I didn't see the name there. Good night, Brooklyn in the house. Desiree Richardson, good night. Who's Facebook user? Good night. Debbie Morgan, good night. Keep sharing the link, everybody. Let me know where you're watching from again. Get into all your Guyanese groups. Each one of you share the link to 20 other people. I'll do the same thing. And I'll take a break now, and I'll be back in 60 seconds. In the meantime, share the link to everybody you know. I'll be back in 60 seconds. Okay, everybody, good night again. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Of course, this is Rickford here in New York. Keep texting me, keep sharing the link. Everybody share the link. All right, so tonight I wanted to talk about three things. One, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the death of Miss Patricia Henry, who is the mother of Isaiah Henry. Everybody remember that Isaiah Henry was mutilated, was chopped to death, he and his cousin Joel Henry in number 5 Village, West Coast Babies, by PPP supporters. Let us not run away from it. By PPP supporters. This is a heinous murder. It was committed by, again, People's Progressive Party supporters in that village, and in the neighboring village, rather, to number 5. And, you know, the police covered up that murder. These young men were brutally murdered. They were chopped across the head. Their throats were slit. One, his entire back was severed. You know, they tried to frame some people for that murder. And the court threw out all of those charges. Then I think now they held somebody else. But we know for sure that based on the Henry family, based on people in the neighborhood, that the real killers have not been found. As a matter of fact, the perpetrators allegedly have been terrorizing the Henry family, firing shots at the home. You would have recalled that family was on my program several times. Miss Henry has been texting me, sending me voice messages, send messages to members of Congress, pleading for help, for justice. And the Ghana Police Force and the government of Ghana turned their back on that family. Why? Because they're Black people. Why? Because the perpetrators are allegedly financiers of the PPP. And they can disprove that by finding the real killers. But that's, of course, my belief, to which I'm entitled. This is a country in which we have free speech. Even though members of the Ghana Police Force, specifically the leadership of the CID, doesn't think that we in the United States have free speech. They think that they can regulate our speech via the Cybercrime Act. I wish them good luck with that. But so Ms. Henry died 2 days ago from a massive heart attack. Of course, the family said it's from the stress. As you know, after the family accused the police of covering up this heinous murder, the police turned on the family and actually framed the son, her oldest son, and charged him with the murder of Harry Singh. Now, that's what the family says. As far as we know, the police has no evidence other than somebody saying that they participated in this murder with this person. And look at my experience. I'm all the way in New York, and the Ghana Police Force is trying to frame me because they hate the fact that I've been speaking out and condemning their corruption. So, and we know that the Ghana Police Force lies through the skin of their teeth. Every statement that comes out of the Ghana Police Force basically is a lie. Every statement. You cannot believe anything the Ghana Police Force says. They have no credibility, no integrity. And so I can prove that. We all could prove that. Look what happened in the Quindon Marcus murder. They issued a statement saying, 1, he fired at police, they fired back at him. 2, there was a sting operation. 3, he was selling some gun and he saw the police and the police chased after him, he fired at the police. None of that was true. None of that was true. So how can you believe anything the Ghana Police Force says? So they framed this woman's son, the family says, with a murder because they spoke out against that. And so this woman has been stressed, and finally the stress got hold of her. She died from a heart attack. She died without seeing justice for her son that was murdered. I'm back. Yeah, so keep sharing the link, everybody. We had a little technical difficulty there. So as I was saying, Patricia Henry's death is unfortunate, and you know, I continue to be aghast by the fact that civil society in Guyana sits back, the church sits back, and allow the government and the police force to abuse people, to allow supporters of the Guyana, supporters of the People's Progressive Party to abuse people. I think it is, we had a light that blue. Yes. So I wanted to highlight that. Also, yes. I also, yes, they're reminding me to talk about the change in the structure of the program. From next month, we will have a change in the structure of this program. And we will, of course, be upgrading. We will be in a studio, a second studio. And we will do some things differently, and we'll ask for your help. So bear in mind, we'll do some changes. Everybody who is looking right now, make sure you go, apart from keep sharing the link, everybody, make sure you go, you subscribe to my YouTube page, Richard Burke on YouTube, subscribe, click the notification button so you can get notification whenever I go live on Facebook and on YouTube. Apart from subscribing to my YouTube page, ensure that you also like and follow all of my Facebook pages, my public figure page, as well as my personal profile. Like those programs, we are on a mission to spread the word. Also, before I go into any other thing, I want to talk about, I got word today that the PPP government commissioned a poll. They commissioned a poll of the electorate in Guyana, and the poll was devastating news to them. I saw somebody made a post about it yesterday or the day before, talking about the poll. That post was very close to accurate. My understanding is that based on the poll, the PPP would lose the next elections if it's an election, if it's called now. They would lose to the APNU AFC coalition. And so I don't think after they spent all of that money on their people, people are actually turned off by the high cost of living, absolutely high cost of living, astronomical prices through the roof, consumer items through the roof, gas through the roof. People can't afford to buy food, pay their rent, and wages remain stagnant. Even though we know that cost of living, there's inflation going through the roof, cost of living going through the roof, the wages have remained stagnant. People are very dissatisfied with the PP government, and so the new poll says if an election is held today, they will lose. That's probably very stunning to them. Also, 60% of the country, that's what I'm told by someone in the PPP, 60% of the country believe there is racism. Everybody keep sharing this link, get into all of your guidance groups and share the link. People believe that 60% of the country, even their supporters, say that the government practices racism. So there you have it, a snapshot of the thinking of the electorate. Of course, I didn't do this poll. That's what I was told by a usually very reliable source in the PPP. So I guess you'll see them running about the place, trying to campaign, going all over the country. Let me move on to another topic, of course, and that is this CCJ ruling. Everybody keeps sharing the link. The CCJ issued its election petition 99 ruling yesterday. Is it yesterday or today? Yesterday. Very, very disappointing ruling. We at CGID issued a statement. I want to read it because I don't want to get anything wrong. So here you go. Yesterday, the majority of justices of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Guyana's apex court, meaning Guyana's highest court, continued to rewrite the laws of Guyana with a series of decisions that deny justice to half of the Guyanese population, while siding with the PPP to exclude the Guyana Court of Appeal from hearing election matters. The CCJ ruled by a majority 3-2 decision that Guyana's Chief Justice Roxanne George, that this decision by Guyana's Chief Justice Roxanne George to throw out the elections petition 99 on the technicality that former President David Granger was an unnecessary respondent was served late cannot be appealed. So the court said that the decision by the Chief Justice to throw out the decision because it was served late, the petition was served late on President Granger, the court is saying you can't appeal that. I'll come back to that later. The Court of Appeal had ruled in a split decision again that it had jurisdiction to hear an appeal of the decision of the Chief Justice. The PPP appealed that decision of the Court of Appeal to the CCJ. The person who served Mr. Granger with the document mistakenly affixed the incorrect date on the affidavit certifying that he was served. The incorrect date fell outside of the period mandated in the law for respondents to be served. Although the date was corrected, the Chief Justice held that the original incorrect date was the actual date of service. Election Petition 99 contained significant evidence of voter fraud in the March 2020 elections, general and regional elections. The PPP desperately worked and tried everything in its power to keep this petition from being heard. The court obliged. The declaration by the Guyana Elections Commission that the PPP won the 2020 election was based on fraudulent invalid ballots. A CCJ decision directed GCOM to count all ballots, including alleged invalid ballots. And we know that the Chief Elections Officer had certified that they were invalid ballots, that there was massive voter impersonation and voter fraud. That decision gave the PPP the victory. CGID is gravely concerned that the decisions of the CCJ have significantly eroded the jurisdiction of the Guyana Court of Appeal on election disputes and usurped the legislative powers of Parliament to change the Guyana Constitution and the regime of elections laws. And that's exactly what happened. The CCJ decisions have supplanted the jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal at the behest of the PPP, which has attacked the majority African Guyanese justices of the Court of Appeal. Recently, the Attorney General said the government intended to pass legislation to increase the number of justices on the Court of Appeal. Clearly, this is intended to pack the court with PPP supporters in order to dominate the judiciary. The CCJ decision yesterday denies 50% of the electorate of Guyana its day in court. This will have significant social and political consequences in an already increasingly unstable and divided Guyana, which is dangerously heading towards a PPP dictatorship. The CCJ is brazenly grabbing jurisdiction which the Guyana Constitution did not intend for it to have, and is arrogating to itself powers of a preeminent premier policy or legislative body in the region. It is therefore no wonder, I stress, it is therefore no wonder that other countries have refused to join the Caribbean Court of Justice. The Attorney General's release of an embargoed opinion serves to highlight the PPP's comfort with the CCJ. We fully expect the feigned outrage of the various CCJ judges with regard to the misconduct of the Attorney General to fall on deaf ears. And of course it does. They did not sanction the Attorney General. They issued some feeble statement today. It is time that Guyana removes any and all jurisdiction on election matters from the CCJ. Foreign judges should not have the ability to handpick governments in Guyana. And so that's the statement the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy issued today with regard to that ruling. And let me explain this. And why we said that the court is eroding the authority of the CCJ and taking away the jurisdiction eroding the jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal is because the Guyana Constitution says that on matters with regard to the qualification of persons or the eligibility of persons for president, the only court with jurisdiction is the Court of Appeal. When the Court of Appeal made a decision in that regard, after the 2020 elections, the CCJ overruled them. Even though the Constitution says the CCJ has no power on that matter, they overruled the court and say, well, the court misinterpreted. The court misinterpreted the Constitution, and it didn't have jurisdiction on that matter that it heard, even though the Constitution says whether or not the court has jurisdiction, the decision of the Court of Appeal on that question is final. The Caribbean Court of Justice found a way to take away the jurisdiction and change the Constitution. And that's why we said they're abrogating to themselves powers that the Constitution did not give to them. Also, it cannot be that one single judge has the final say about an election petition. What about if that judge erred? What about if the court erred? There's no provision. You mean to tell me that's what this Caribbean Court of Justice just ruled? One judge could determine the whole fate of a country. It has to be flawed. There must be, and that's why Justice Jamadar and Justice Barrow dissented, and their dissent made sense, where they said there should at least be an appeal to the full court, which is a level before the Court of Appeal. And that full court deals with matters of technical matters with regard to an appeal or a decision, and this was a technical matter. How can, if an entire election is being questioned, how can you throw out the petition, refuse to hear the case because one person was not allegedly served on time? That's a fundamentally flawed judgment. And it's denying half of the country the ability to challenge the validity of the election. Everybody would recall that the CCJ and all the other courts and the chairman of the elections kept saying, yes, there are irregularities, but it must be challenged in an elections petition. Now they brought the elections petition, they're like, no, we can't hear it because you also have Granger late. So we have the CCJ handpicking the government. That cannot be. Those are foreigners to Guyana. Yes, the court is our apex court, but the justices that sit on that court are not Guyanese. The law should not permit them to decide who the government should be, especially on matters like this, on such a frivolous dismissal of an elections petition. Frivolous. And that's why we are proponents of election matters being removed from the jurisdiction of the CCJ. Remove these matters from the CCJ. End the jurisdiction with the Court of Appeal, which is what the Constitution envisaged. Everybody keeps sharing this link, sharing the link. We have to speak out. We have to speak out. Guyana is so-called a democracy. And we cannot allow courts to usurp the role of Parliament. Parliament make laws. The courts are to interpret those laws, not change the law that Parliament make, not change the intent of that legislation, not reshape the legislation, not make policy for the country. That's what the CCJ is doing. That is the role of Parliament. That is the role of Parliament. And again, it is not even an undisputed fact. Everybody keeps sharing the link. It's not even an undisputed fact that the petition was served late on Granger. That was disputed. The petition, the affidavit of service was corrected. But the Chief Justice disregarded the correction and said she don't believe that. And that is the basis for a decision, for her decision to throw out the elections petition. Everybody keep sharing the link. Get it to all of your Guyanese groups. Share the link. Call up your relatives and friends. Send the link in email, WhatsApp, wherever. Share the link. This is a cause for concern. And let me tell you why it's a cause for concern. Because the PPP does not like the judges on the Guyana Court of Appeal. Most of them are African Guyanese. Most of them are Afro-Guyanese. And we remember the Minister of Local Government, Lal, attacking them, saying they must be fired because they're, including the Chancellor, because they ruled against the PPP government. Share the link, everybody. Get into your Guyanese groups and share the link. They said they must be fired. Then the Attorney General is saying, okay, well, we don't like, Damlal is saying, we don't like these judges because they're ruling against us. And the Attorney General is like, well, we're going to have to go to Parliament and pass a law to increase these the judges on the Court of Appeal. In other words, to make these judges, the current judges, irrelevant. Because we're going to put our own people there. And they're going to join with Rishi Prasad and vote for us. That's what they want to do. They want to completely dominate everything in society. Everything. And the CCJ is facilitating it. It seemed to me like the CCJ, the majority of the judges on the CCJ are philosophically opposed to half the population of Guyana. And they reflect it in their judgments. There's a philosophical opposition to the coalition and their supporters, almost contempt for half the population of Guyana. And that cannot be. That cannot be. So what we as Guyanese have to do is work towards pushing the government and the opposition to amend the constitution, to remove jurisdiction on election matters from the CCJ. Let local Guyanese courts decide that. Yes, again, the court, you'll argue, the court is the apex court for Guyana. But I continue to argue that the justices on that court are foreign judges. They should not select who the government is. So we wanted to make that point. The other issue that I want to, I'm not going to be long tonight. This is going to be a brief program. The other issue I wanted to talk about tonight is we have a problem in the Guyanese community in the diaspora. And we will address it frontally. We will address it frontally. We have a situation where the government of Guyana and the police force are attacking members in the diaspora. They're attacking people when they go home to Guyana, if they speak out on social media. They're monitoring people. They're committing espionage. They're attacking me. They're trying to apply Guyana laws to me here living in the United States. They're using cybercrime legislation. Somebody sent me a file, a photograph of a file that the CID has of me. I'm a criminal. They have a big thick file of me like this, right? Where everything I say, they go and get statements from people who I criticize, call up people and say that I breached the Cybercrime Act of Guyana. I don't even live in Guyana. First of all, Guyana's Cybercrime Act is unconstitutional. There's no way it could be upheld by any court. I don't know why it's not challenged as yet. Second, if Guyana's laws apply to us here, and therefore United States law should apply to them there, if that's how they want to roll. But let me say this, I'm not afraid of anybody in the Guyana Police Force. Blanham, I'm not afraid of Hicken. I'm not afraid of Caesar. I'm not a criminal. I don't commit crimes. And because I criticize them and we expose their corruption, they think that they could frame me and frame other members. Imagine how corrupt they are. They want to frame me all the way in the United States of America, just like they want to frame Bascom, just like they want to frame the Isaiah Henry's brother. Anytime you criticize them, their response is that we will abuse our power to frame you and make you a criminal. And we're going to put it out. And their ethnic press runs with it. If you notice, everybody in the ethnic press in Guyana, all the East Indians, and I live in a country where we don't play with race, and I'm not afraid to speak it. You check the people who support the PPP, all of them ran with the bulletin because they want to smear me. Not one of them, sorry, well, a few of them carry a little snippet, two of them, a little snippet that I deny the charges. Not one of them. They all want to smear Black people. We have a problem in Guyana, and we have to solve it. This is a problem. The PPP ethnic supporters are out to disenfranchise, enslave African Guyanese. We have a problem in the country. We must face it frontally. And the police force, the government is using them to criminalize people who criticize them and call them out on their racism. That's a fact. That's a fact. They don't even believe you should speak. You go, when the PPP have their programs or whatever it is, nobody disrupts it. You look at what the PPP supporters do. They come on these programs and launch the most vicious attacks against Black people. Call us Negroes, the N-word, hungry-bellied dogs, whatever it is. And if you respond, that's a cybercrime. It has to change. Something, if it's not changed, Guyana is going to go towards conflict. We're going to go towards civil conflict. Something has to happen to pull the country back, pull the PPP and the Guyana Police Force back from the brink of trying to make Guyana Russia. And we will start in the diaspora. We will start in the diaspora. So I want everybody to make sure that on the 30th of October, we will have a forum in New York at 1610. Everybody write down the address, 1610, and I'll talk about that every time I come on the air until the 30th of October. 1610 Ralph Avenue at the Winners Palace. We will be meeting with our elected officials at all levels, particularly your members of Congress, to discuss this issue. And we've also invited prosecutors from the Department of Justice. We've invited the FBI. We've invited the district attorney in Brooklyn. We've invited persons from the Attorney General's office in New York. And we've invited the NYPD to sit with the leaders in the Guyanese community in the New York tri-state area to discuss the fact that we have a new situation where our government in Guyana has now assumed the posture of Russia, China, Iran, and other autocratic governments that target dissidents all around the world. You would recall the Attorney General came to this country and advocated for me to be killed. That matter is still under investigation by the New York City Police Department. The Attorney General has been trying to procure They can't use death squads to do us anything anymore because the international community is watching. And in fact, this is a different generation of young people. They can't slaughter anybody anymore like they did with their death squads. So they're now procuring law enforcement to do their work. They're using the Guyana police force in Guyana, and now they want to use the FBI to target us in America. The Attorney General has been harassing members in the diaspora, including me, going on social media, libeling us, defaming us. The Guyana police force is not concerned about that. They put out a wanted bulletin for the Attorney General, who lied and said I was a convicted criminal in America. I've never been arrested anywhere in the world, much less convicted, never been charged with a crime. So those of us who live in the diaspora, we will have to start putting pressure on the government of the United States to take action against members of the Guyana police force who commit transnational crimes and the government of Guyana. And we are asking for sanctions. We are asking the Biden administration for sanctions. The relationship between the United States government and the government of Guyana has to change. Has to change. They're attacking the United States with espionage. They're attacking citizens. They're advocating death for citizens. That's a despotic state. That's an autocrat. These are criminal offenses under the laws of the United States. And so on the 30th of October, Sunday the 30th of October at 5 o'clock, we invite everybody in the Guyanese community to come out at the Winners Palace, 1610. Don't worry about security. The whole of NYPD will be there. 1610 Ralph Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, right at the corner of Brooklyn and Farragut Road. Sorry, Ralph Avenue and Farragut Road. 1610 Ralph Avenue and Farragut Road. Come and talk with your members of Congress. Come and talk with representatives from the mayor's office or the mayor himself. Come and talk with the Attorney General, representatives. Talk to FBI agents. Talk to NYPD commanders about the attacks on Guyanese in the diaspora by the government of Guyana. The issues that we'll be dealing with are combating transnational repression crimes, targeting Guyanese living in the United States. Our members of Congress will be, of course, on the Congressional Black Caucus, and they will be addressing the issue of equitable governance, democracy, justice in Guyana, and how does that impact U.S. foreign policy towards Guyana. That's what our members of Congress will be addressing. And again, it is Sunday, October 30th, commencing at 5 p.m. at 1610 Ralph Avenue, the Winners Palace. And I want to thank the proprietor for that establishment for allowing us to use his venue for this event. Patricia, I hear you. We will have to do everything in our power to make sure that that message is sent loud and clear to the U.S. government, loud and clear to the United States government. So I wanted to make sure I discuss these issues. I'll have another program on Sunday. We'll return to our regular schedule. No, I had a death in my family, 2 deaths, as a matter of fact. We had other issues to deal with, so I couldn't have the regular programs. We're trying to get back on schedule now, so we have the programs on Thursdays and Sundays. Like I said, we have decided to change the structure of the program. And in order to maintain the program, we will be asking you to help us do that. Also, let me announce that on the 30th of October, we will also be launching a Guyanese Diaspora Defense Fund. Guyana Diaspora Defense Fund, we will be soliciting funds from the diaspora, and we launch an aggressive program, an aggressive campaign to fight back against the international repression crimes by the government of Guyana, the Guyana Police Force. Of course, we have to hire a series of lawyers. We have engaged and will continue to engage a law firm here in New York. We'll be filing a number of federal lawsuits here in New York against the Guyana Police Force, specific members of the Guyana Police Force, and specific members of the government. We will take some serious legal action. We have to protect the diaspora. I'm not the only person that they're attacking. Like I said, they're targeting people when they go home. They're questioning them at the airport. This is a full-fledged autocratic state. They're endangering people. They're putting their agents to make phone calls to our our phone numbers. They're giving out our address publicly. They're giving out our numbers. People have asked me, the police has asked me to change my number. I'm not changing my number. I am not changing my number. I'm not going to make the PPP allow me to change my lifestyle. I'm not afraid of them. We will see how that goes. I am safe. I could take care of me and my family, but we're concerned about people who don't have the ability to protect themselves from these types of crimes, from the harassment by the Attorney General, harassment by the government of Guyana, harassment by the Guyana Police Force, harassment by the agents. And they're also targeting members of Congress. I noticed that this young man, O.C. Rogers, who was just involved in hitting the young lady in Bad Settlement, Barbies, with a gun over her head, that's what she says. He was seen on video punching her. He's been attacking members of Congress here. And so all of those things will be addressed by the FBI and members of Congress and the New York City Police Department when we meet. This is a law enforcement issue. This is not a political issue. And we have to take legal action, and there are crimes, and there must be law enforcement action as well. So thank you very much for watching. I continue to thank you for your support. I've gotten thousands of messages, literally. I can't respond to everybody. But thank you very much. I am fine. I have never been as good as I am and well as I am now, and I'm a child of the King. And so my God is good. My God is good. And he continues to shower his blessings on me and protect me. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you for all your prayers. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. I see you again on Sunday. I shall see you again on Sunday when we have another edition of Conversation with Rickford Burke. Have a good night, everybody.